Welcome to the Myth Lab, your portal to legends, ancient stories, and folklore from around the world.
From the epic battles of celestial beings to the cryptic tales of forgotten history, we explore the unknown.
So whether you're a seeker of forbidden knowledge, a fan of immersive storytelling, or just mesmerized by the mysterious,
the Myth Lab is the journey where chills and captivation collide.
Be sure to subscribe
and join us for another experiment in the Myth Lab.
Medusa Seraphina Vasilios, a brilliant Aetherian and lead mystic advisor to Athena in MythosPrime. She is betrayed by the powerful Council of Balance, exiled and transformed into a monstrous sorceress. Medusa is then left alone to struggle with what she has become. Dawn fell over MythosPrime, a breathtaking fusion of fantastical and futuristic. A city where the lines between technology and magic were melded in harmony. In the city's towering buildings were painted and enchanted with shades of purple, blue, and green against the ethereal night sky. Each large chapel glowed, etched with intricate symbols of alchemy that pulsed with their own bioluminescent life. In the center stood the Nexus Cathedral, a marvel of futuristic and ancient elements. Within its walls, the Council of Balance convened to preserve harmony between progress and tradition in this magic-infused realm. Deep within this sacred chamber, the Council of Balance gathered, a group of masterful minds united by their solemn duty to maintain balance between tradition and progress. The Council, also known as the Great Pantheon of Equilibrium, was both worshipped and feared. Like deities pulled from ancient mythologies, they reigned over the magic-infused realm of MythosPrime. But their role was more than just rulers. They were protectors of a delicate equilibrium between arcane knowledge and advanced technology, entrusted with making decisions that would have far-reaching consequences for their nation and beyond. Each member embodied a distinct aspect of this intricate harmony. Amongst the figures beneath the Pantheon, one stood out, both in physical beauty and intellectual brilliance. Medusa Seraphina Vasilios, proudly serving as the lead mystic advisor to the Presiding Sorceress, Lord Athena. Though Lord Athena was the high ruler of the council, Medusa's radiance was undeniable, with hair of softly woolen locks coiled at the roots, emanating scents of smoky sage and zesty lemons as she walked by. Her skin, a perfect shade of dark chocolate, appeared flawlessly under the glow of techno-mystic devices around her, while her piercing green eyes carried an intelligence that was balanced by the equal beauty and warmth that they held. Medusa came from a long line of Aetherians, a race with advanced abilities and deep connections to technology. They were not just scientists, but connected to the souls of machines, physics, and alchemy alike. From a young age, Medusa showed her talents with her sharp mind and curious nature in a world where most children played with gadgets. However, Medusa was gifted an interspatial alchemy set by her father, and she spent hours in a dimly lit chamber, playing with time and space, creating miniature versions of the city's architectural wonders. Her mastery of science and mysticism made her infamous in MythosPrime, and she became close to those in power. Her voice echoed through the council chambers with logical reasoning and urgent inspiration. Medusa was adored during this golden age as a beacon of what was to come tomorrow from the ancient histories of yesterday. Medusa's scientific brilliance and treasured heritage also brought trouble. The admiration she received from the council was often cloaked with envy, which would ultimately lead to her downfall. As her beauty and intellect captivated many, this included Lord Poseidon. As a descendant of the seafaring mystics, he desired power and beauty above all else, which Medusa embodied in abundance. He showered her with gifts and invitations, but she rejected him, due to her devotion to her work and his political enemy, Lord Athena. This only fueled Poseidon's obsession more. Athena, the head of the Council of Balance, was greatly concerned by Poseidon's antics. She had mentored Medusa, recognizing her potential to elevate MythosPrime, but Poseidon's fixation could upset the equilibrium that Athena worked to maintain. Athena paced the council's chambers, her furrowed brow reflecting her tense thoughts. The glistening walls shimmered under a warm glow of sorceress decor. She moved gracefully, but her mind was clouded over Medusa's growing fame. The presiding sorceress of the Council of Balance watched with distaste and bubbling envy from the shadows as Medusa rose to power and threatened her reputation as the city's champion of equilibrium. Athena brushed away the rumors and refused to let them affect her judgment, but the discontent remained. That evening, she summoned Medusa to her private chambers in the Nexus Spire under the guise of discussing a confidential matter.
Medusa, your skills are renowned throughout the council. Your aid in our missions is highly appreciated,
Athena said, her voice polite, yet cautious. She observed Medusa with a wary eye, searching for any signs of deceit. Finding none, she continued carefully.
However, as Lord of Wisdom, I must urge caution. Your rise to power has been swift and notable. I can't help but wonder if your brilliance may dim the light of others.
Medusa was typically composed and self-assured, yet her mentor's words nearly broke her to tears. The Etherean submitted to her idol and promised not to cause any further issues. But before she could finish expressing her loyalty, Athena abruptly ended the conversation. Medusa left Athena's chambers, her confidence rattled. She wondered if her talents had made her a target of envy amongst her own people. All she wanted to do was serve the city she loved. But now, she doubted herself. Had her light shone too brightly? Medusa shook off the whispers and focused on her purpose. She made her way to the labs below Nexus Spire, where she felt most at home, amongst the alchemical engines and holographic schematics. Weeks went by as she poured her heart and soul in her most groundbreaking project, the Lumispore Initiative, where she would genetically engineer bioluminescent spores to attach themselves to the flora and vegetation throughout the city. These tiny organisms would cling to every inch of MythosPrime's plant life, creating a brilliant glow throughout the city, increasing plant growth and enhancing vegetative resilience against the harshest elements. A visionary endeavor, set to revolutionize the city's food supply and ultimately contribute to the well-being of its inhabitants. This consumed her, pushing aside her thoughts of her tense meeting with Athena. Suddenly, Lord Poseidon appeared in her lab, setting her on edge. Poseidon approached Medusa, who was working alone.
My work requires solitude and focus, both of which you often disrupt,
she said firmly. Poseidon chuckled, claiming to oversee her progress as the one who was funding her research. Then he hinted at knowing about the meeting with Athena, causing a mystical anger to rise in her gem-colored eyes as she avoided eye contact.
Idle gossip, I assure you,
she replied smoothly. Her response came out as a smooth and practiced lie, but inside her, a magic stirred. As her emotions flared with anger, the energy around her body took a slight glow of Etherean emotional response. Medusa took a deep breath to calm herself, quickly attempting to suppress the glow before Poseidon could notice, though she had nowhere to hide. Despite the situation, Poseidon remained stoic and simply nodded with his usual calculated expression. Of course. Though I must say, some are growing concerned about your influence amongst the people." He paused, letting his words sink in. Perhaps an arrangement could be made to smooth things over. Poseidon then made an indecent proposition to Medusa, requesting favors in exchange for protection. Disgust and fear filled her as he invaded her personal space. She then coldly demanded him to leave, and when he refused, she threatened to summon security. Offended, Poseidon left in a rage, uttering these final words: "You'll live to regret this." As he slowly strolled out of the lab, each footstep haunting the stone floor more than the last. Medusa's heart pounded as the lab door slid shut behind Poseidon. His threat left her shaken. If he were to decide to act against her, the consequences could be dire. Medusa tried to focus on her work, but doubts and fear clouded her mind. Should she have given in to Poseidon's advances? No, she reminded herself. She wouldn't compromise her principles, even if it put her at risk. A notification ping interrupted her brooding. She glanced at the hologram in her laboratory, an urgent summons from Athena. Anxiety twisted in Medusa's guts. First Poseidon, now this. She braced herself and made her way swiftly through the chrome corridors towards the council citadel. Athena awaited her in an uninviting crystalline chamber.
Medusa, I'm sure you know why I've called you here.
Her voice was like ice. Medusa's chin lifted.
I assure you, whatever accusations Poseidon has imposed against me are— Silence!
Athena snapped.
Did you think your maneuverings would go unnoticed? That we would not uncover your ploy to use your celebrity to turn the people against the council?
Shock rendered Medusa momentarily speechless.
I don't know what you're talking about,
she stammered. Medusa reeled at the venom in Athena's words. This was not the mentor who had once inspired her, but a twisted shadow fueled with paranoia and deceit. Poseidon must have preyed upon her insecurity, poisoning her mind against Medusa.
Please listen to me,
Medusa implored, her voice thick with emotion.
Poseidon wants power for himself. He seeks to control the council through you. Don't let him manipulate you like this.
Athena's eyes narrowed, cold and reptilian.
You arrogant child! You dare suggest I am so easily manipulated when your vanity and mystique talents have made you a threat. One I will no longer tolerate.
Medusa's knees weakened as Athena's harsh words cut through her like a blade. She took an unsteady step back, raising her hand slightly in a gesture of pleading. And that's when Athena's voice erupted into a guttural chant, crackling with arcane power. The air shimmered and warped as she channeled her rage. With a wave of the hand, sigils glowed along the walls and ceiling. The air grew heavy with gathering power, sending possessive chills down Medusa's spine.
Athena, stop!
Medusa cried out, realization dawning as she felt the curse take hold. But it was too late. Athena uttered a final guttural cry. Medusa screamed as agonizing pain shot through her body. Her limbs contorted, hair raising into the air as she fell onto her back, writhing in torment. A scream escaped her lips as she looked up from the ground and met the gaze of the ruthless sorceress.
Athena, what are you doing? Riding the balance your weakness attempted to destroy.
Athena intoned coldly.
You are hereby exiled and cursed for your crimes.
Medusa's vision blurred as the searing pain and dread coursed through her body. She felt her limbs convulse and contort as if rebelling against her. She watched in horror as her rich skin withered, turning into a sickly greenish-gray hue. The once smooth surface now cracked and flaking like waterless earth, revealing dry and lifeless flesh beneath. Then a hissing and scaling, writhing coming from her own head became almost deafening. Darkness crept into Medusa's vision as her consciousness dissolved. The last thing she saw was Athena's cold, satisfied smile. When Medusa finally awoke, she found herself alone and disoriented. Gone were the chrome spires of MythosPrime. She lay in a barren wasteland. The dusty earth stretched endlessly in all directions beneath the slate-gray sky. Slowly, agonizingly, she sat up, holding a hand to her pounding head. But what she felt made her gasp in shock and horror. No longer did she have hair, but a writhing nest of vipers attached to her scalp. She caught a glimpse of her distorted reflection in a nearby pool of brackish water and recoiled. The monster in front of her was no longer the woman she used to be, as if she had been drained of all life and vitality. Dark circles ringed her sunken, menacing eyes, giving them an otherworldly green glow. Her cheeks were hollow, adding to her ghostly appearance. Medusa scrambled back from the water's edge, her heart pounding in her ears. This couldn't be real. She lifted a shaking hand to the snakes, hissing and twisting atop her head, only for it to hiss and snap viciously at her finger. Shuddering, she withdrew her hand. The outskirts were desolate and lifeless, a forbidden wasteland with a putrid stench. Jagged rocks and boulders littered the ground, dangerous to anyone who dared to venture there. After her mentor Athena betrayed her, and Poseidon plotted against her, Medusa was turned into a petrifying monster and forced to live in this empty place. She had been betrayed by someone she trusted with her life, and it tore her apart from within. Her body writhed with anger. Bolts of bioelectricity crackled and surged through the air around her in a display of otherworldly power. As she let out primal screams, her serpentine hair hissing and thrashing in response to the emotions raging within her. And yet, amidst the chaos and pain, there was something else. Primal hunger for prey to survive on. One that consumed her every thought and action. In this barren landscape, food was scarce. So when Medusa grew hungry, she would unleash the full power of her deadly locks to snatch birds from the sky or rodents scurrying through the dust. And as time passed, her bitterness and rage towards the circumstances only grew stronger, causing her to toy with her victims before devouring them with savage pleasure. Longing to confront those who had wronged her, she channeled all her energy and hatred towards honing her powers. She learned to control the bioelectricity that coursed through her veins, using it to crack boulders, summon the darkness of night, and topple trees with mere thought. Amidst the chaos, Medusa felt a craving for more than just flesh and blood. She now felt an unquenchable hunger for the magical life force from the world beneath her feet. This curse had awakened a power that Athena never intended. As she gazed at the barren horizon, Medusa took a moment to herself. The curse had taken hold, twisting her once pure Etherean blood into something dark, something violent. Her lips, once supple and soft, now twisted into a dry, crackling smile with sadistic pleasure. Her sharp fangs glint in pale, ethereal moonlight. She now peered into the distance from within the shadows, observing MythosPrime while imagining how easily her treacherous council members could be betrayed by their own predictable routines. She was Medusa, an entity to be feared by all. She grew stronger with each kill, and she would one day have her revenge. And that concludes another episode of the Myth Lab. We hope you enjoy diving deep into the realms of storytelling with us.
And big thanks to all our listeners. Your support means everything to us. Leave us a review. It helps us and our podcast keep the adventure going.
Be sure to subscribe to the Myth Lab so you never miss an episode as we continue our journey through the myths and legends that have captivated humanity for centuries.
Consider donating to our Patreon, where you can find information on exclusive episodes, behind the scenes, and collaborations with us.
And as always, may the moonlight behind you illuminate your path to the Myth Lab.